How the hell is everybody doing on this Wednesday, February 5th? Back here for another edition of Puck Wild, Puck with a P, our weekly telecast here at Man Cave Sports to go over the Minnesota Wild NHL hockey team. Now, this past week has seen the Wild struggle a bit. I know they played, I believe it was last Thursday, had a 4-0 victory over Montreal in a game that was very meaningful for one of our goaltenders. We'll talk about that a little bit and a couple other items. So coming off of two shutout losses. So the offense has been stagnant the last two games, including last night with a 3-0 loss to the Bruins. So Brian, I will start with you. Give me your take on this last week of Wild games.
Well, we'll talk more about the Flower game in Montreal. We'll talk about that a little later. But the last two, I mean, it's the old cliche in sports, man. You can't win if you don't score. And it is without Kirill on there, man. It's just we have Boldy, and Boldy's kind of going through his mid-season slump that he always does. We don't have a second option. It's the same thing. Bring the puck up. We make a pass. Bounces off somebody. Then we're, on the other end. It's just there's nobody else out there. Like I'm watching JoJo. I mean, every time he gets hit, he just lazily comes back up. It's just nobody's being engaged except for one guy. I will tell you, in the last two games, even though we've been shut out, Hustadinov, that little bastard, dude, he's like buzzing around out there. He looks like he's confident with the puck. But he's, other than Boldy, it's just, you need more than Hust. Yeah, and it's a long season, and NHL is a grind. I mean, more so than 82 games of basketball. So it's just hopefully we can tread water. I mean, just at least, go 500 or just a little bit below before we get Kaprizov back. And just then maybe we can make some noise in the playoffs. And it's just the other thing that's killing me is back when Boudreau was the coach and Dino, those power plays, and you're just sitting there going, shoot, they're back at that again. But, it's a long season. Let's just see how it plays out. G.
Yeah, last three games have been rough. I mean, yeah, the Montreal game was fantastic. Great story to it, and we'll get into that a little later. This Ottawa game was a clunker, and it was a clunker for more than one reason. We were talking, they had 16 shots on goal. Mm-hmm. Well, not very many games you're going to win with 16 shots on goal. You gave up 52 shots. I mean, that's a hell of a disparity. That's like watching a U10 game. It's just not the same team, right? Gus Bus has been off since he came back from his quote-unquote injury just before Christmas, the vacation piece. And I think they've seen that. They pulled him one game because he struggled. Now they let him run through that 6-point loss and shutout. I mean, something's going on in the goaltending piece. Flowers looking good. Flowers playing fine. Flowers not your everyday goalie. And that's the piece we're looking at. And so I think you looked into the night last night actually, going into that second period, after that second period coming out of it, the Wild had 16 shots again. And I thought to myself, here we go again. Another game like Ottawa. Back-to-back games are just junk, right? They came out and had a hell of a third period. Couldn't find the net. 20 shots on goal. Had a great third period. Their face-offs were 30-30, right? So the game came together a lot better than Ottawa. Hell, I think they only won 14 face-offs against the Senators. So you can see that they came with a little more spark. But the problem is, luckily they built up that cushion in the front end. Because now the injuries and all these bugs are here for the Wild. And you're starting to feel the effects of not having any cap room. We don't have any room. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but the Hartman thing, that's what really pisses me off even more, because we don't have any room for this stuff. You can't afford to have these kind of issues when you're strapped like this. So the last three games have been tough. The Wild tried to spin it last night with this, hey, we went 1-2 on this road trip. Bullshit. That is bullshit. You got your bag beat in the last 2 nights. And why don't you talk about that? How are you going to fix that? Coming home better be a lot better. That's all I got to say. They got their defense back, so I don't want to hear any more complaints about that. Jonas Brodin's back. You better have your defense back and not be giving up 52 shots anymore.
All right. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, it's frustrating.
No, so anyways, if you saw the game last week, Fleury pitched the shutout at Montreal. They a lot of pageantry, everything there. Obviously, a decorated career. Like I said, I had the game on. I wasn't paying enough attention to the pageantry. So if you guys could kind of speak to it, starting with you, Brian.
Oh man, I mean, that's why you watch sports for things like that. You never see in the NHL, you never see the other team out there shaking hands unless it's a end of a playoff series. Flower, everybody loves the guy. Everywhere he's been, everybody loves him, and especially in his hometown of Montreal. He's never played for the Canadians, but I mean, that's just, it gave me a little goosebumpies. I didn't like tear up or anything like that, but it was damn good to see. And, he knew that was his last time there too. And then to produce like that. And the thing that Gary and I were talking about, how the last couple games you're not seeing any want to, giving up a lot of shots. You can tell that the team was right there for him in that game. They were not going to lose that game. And it was just beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. I'm going to say it one more time. It was fucking beautiful. Gary.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You seen Flower's family was in the house. I mean, he's French-Canadian. Although he's never played for Montreal, it was still a homecoming of sorts. I think the fun part of it is to see a guy take his career, and everyone's obviously knows this. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, but you had a kid who had a shutout at 19 years old in Pittsburgh, and then at 40 years old to create another shutout. That's pretty impressive. You're talking 21 years later, this guy's still performing at such a high level. And I think people are seeing this around the NHL. People that watch hockey know how incredibly hard that is and how great his career has been. And to see the pageantry along with it is fantastic for Minnesota to be involved in that, just because we don't really get that guy, right? That guy always leaves and has that pageantry somewhere else. We don't get to enjoy the ride. And for this, we do. And we're watching some special things. You're watching to the likes of Marty Brodeur. You're to the likes of Patrick Waugh. That great goalie, the Dominic Hasek. We have that guy with Flower. Although we didn't have him in his prime. I agree with that. But it's fun to watch the acceptance and the class from every team around you when you go into their building and their fans. The signs for the fans it's fantastic. Everyone's is just in love with Flower. But then he goes out and does something so special as after he got done warming up with the Wild that day, skated over to another rink where these kids were practicing, and he sat there and played with them. And he had all this extra time with these kids. He said he loves it. It brought him back to his youth, but that's who he is. That's why there's such fanfare around him. He's more than just a hockey goalie. He's just such an ambassador for the sport.
Where do you guys rank him as far as all-time greats?
Well, he Big G, Money G. He did lay down a few names there. I don't have him higher than that, like Waugh, the Dominator, or Marty Brodeur, or Jacques Plante, or any of those guys. But just as this case with LeBron, I don't have him in my top 10, but of course I don't. But the longevity, you can't argue with it. And he was great in Pittsburgh. He was great in Vegas. And he's been wonderful here. And Billy G loves him because they were former teammates. I definitely got him in the top 20 of all time.
Oh, yeah, I'd say top 10 for sure. I mean, this guy's a multi-cup winner, and he did it in different formats, different locations. He's a consummate professional. I said he's fantastic, man. I think he ranks right up there with those names I mentioned with the Waugh and the Brodeur. And, I think the guy deserves everything he's getting, and it's fun to watch. And I think he is a damn good goalie.
Yeah, either way, I don't think anybody can debate his Hall of Fame credentials. So,
No.
um, so look forward to seeing him go in there. If it's like every other sport, there's going to be a 5-year lull between the retirement and when they can get inducted. Last topic for this week, Mr. Hartman. I seen that he got a 10-game suspension. I believe I also read he's appealing it. Brian, you wanna talk to that one?
Yeah, Hearts. I love Hearts. He's kind of a be naughty kind of guy, and those are the guys I like. And I think it got to the point where, I mean, he's been suspended, I believe, 4 times since 2023. He's that. I mean, we don't have much toughness except for Moose. So it's kind of nice to have that guy that's just a pain in the ass, the guy you love to play with, but you hate to play against. I think, as Big G said, that our salary cap hell, I think we got like something like $18,000 available for us to get a free agent or sign anybody. So I like that he's appealing it. It gives us a little bit of time. Maybe it's just a couple of days. I saw we got Vinny from off of waivers in Nashville today. But once that 10-game suspension starts, we're just like up against that salary cap. And I know it's, knock on wood, it's only one more year, but it puts us in quite the position. And Billy G, Hartz is a Billy G guy, but that's got to really piss that guy off. I hear that guy on the radio, man, and you can just feel his blood boiling. I haven't heard what he had to say about Hartz yet, but and the other thing, the reason why it's 10 games is just because he's a chronic, offender. Like when Connor McDavid, or should I call him Connor McGregor, elbows JoJo in the head, he doesn't even get a 1 game, and then they're coming after us. But that the thing is, past history dooms you when it comes to these things. And Hearts ain't Conor McGregor or Connor McDavid. So that's kind of how it goes that way. Big G?
Hartman, obviously, I think this is a stupid move. I hearken this to the move of Todd Bertuzzi when he axe handled the play over the head with the stick. Just a stupid move. I mean, Todd Bertuzzi got hit on that because his prior offenses. That's exactly what's happening to Hartman. Is Hartman, that 10-game suspension, I'm willing to bet that sticks to 10. These secondaries, when they appeal, they go to Bettman. And if you look at any of these appeals in the NHL do not get wavered back on. So he's going to get stick with 8, maybe 10 games. That's going to kick the shorts out of the Wild because we have no capper. We already talked about that, right? But the other problem is he just signed an extension this last year. And to have that pop up now, can he have a cool head when it comes to the playoffs? Or are they just going to come at him? Right? Does he hurt us then in game or does he get another suspension that puts him out the rest of the playoffs? Right? So that's more than just right now. You just put notice and put a red flag on your back for the rest of the league to go after Hartman. If we get him pissed enough, he's going to react. He's going to cause something stupid. And now we could possibly get him out for 20 games. Right? So this isn't just about the 10 game, unfortunately. This is moving forward with him. If we have another incident like this with 3 more years left on his contract, what happens with that? Yeah, next year gets a lot better and things like that. But Hartman's now got a huge flag all over his body about, hey, go after me. And that's the problem I have. It's not just a foolish mistake. And it's not a mistake. He ground his head right in there. That was a dumb move. But Hartman does that, right? And that's why we like him. Because we do have that Marty McSorley type of hit on this guy, right? Like, oh, that's fun. NHL's not like that no more. Okay, there's 5 guys that wear no masks, no visors. Only 5 in the NHL. Okay, when those guys quit, that's over with. So those days of fighting and being that tough guy with no shield and all this bravado that went along with it, that's gone. There's no fighting in NHL. You can't peel your helmet. That stuff's done. These hits are not allowed anymore. They want a clean, fast-scoring game. That's what they want. So he's got to either kind of come up with that or he's going to have to find an alternative on how to play.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of Draymond in the NBA as far as just the target on his back.
Don't
the
do
history.
that to Hearts.
Well, I think you're on point with that. I mean, to cross it over to another sport, I think that's a fair comparison.
I'm surprised, Brian, you don't like Draymond. You usually like the bad guy, and he's one of the biggest assholes.
Not that guy. That's the one guy. Not.
And I do like Hartman. I really do. I think he's a grinder. I think he's a good guy. But you can't let yourself get to this point.
Agreed. So now the Wild have 2 games left. One tomorrow night. I believe it's the Hurricanes, and then the Islanders on Saturday, and then they get a 2-week reprieve with the tournament coming up that we talked about 2 weeks ago. And so we will definitely have a show again next week to recap those 2 games. Gentlemen, any closing thoughts for this episode?
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, the thing is, let's just get to this break. It's going to be absolutely needed. I mean, without having, Boldy not being hot right now, that's tough. With not having the thrill, let's win one of these next 2. I don't care how we do it. Let's get to the break. Let's regroup. As Big G said, we got a full defense back now. At the end of the year, hopefully, another knock on wood, we have Z William coming back. So that's going to be a strong. That's going to be a strong part of our team. It's just, let's get out of here 1-1. Let's take a break. Enjoy your time off, fellas, and let's get back at it when this is done. G.
It's imperative the Wild win one of these 2. I think they have to win both. They need to go into that break strong. I think Marco Rossi's having a fantastic season. I don't think anyone's seen Rossi having this roast he would ever had this season. So get him back going a little bit. You got to find some scoring, right? It's got to be gritty goals, however that may be. I think the break is imperative for Gus Bus to figure out what the hell's going on. Wallstrand ain't doing nothing. Fleury can't handle the load. They've got to figure out what is going on with the goaltending situation. And that's his defense as well, right? So now you have your 6 pieces back. Here we go. Get healthy after these 2 weeks. Put the chips on the table and rock and roll. Are we going to be a top 3 team? No. But there's no reason why we shouldn't be a top 6 team and be able to rock and roll going in those playoffs.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate that. I look forward to these upcoming 2 games and then reconvene with the 2 of you next week. Possibly Brett. I do know he, much like yourself last week, Gary, he had hockey obligations. Fortunately, Brian and I don't have that to worry about, but nonetheless, good to see you guys once again, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See you guys next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.